Alright, so let's see if we can knock out the rest of the configuration for the animated paddlers poses in one go. Let's see, we've already went over the general controls. Most of the stuff that you'll be working with is over there. From here on, you'll be using these other modes less and less, but let's go over them real quick anyway. So, pose control. This basically sets the kind of poses that each character will use. The default white ties template looks something like this, the list on the left. Let me just go ahead and block out the list on the right for a sec. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, so this is what your poses look like. Butlers, and let's just use, yep, that'll work. Alright, so you have the ready poses when the characters are just kind of standing there. You have the when they are hit, you see the character kind of flinching. You have the low HP, if you remember that's what we defined at 0.25 by default. You have the guard position, this one you use defend. You have the dash forward, dash backwards. You have the attack animation. This is number 7, and it's going to be very relevant later on. You have the skill animation and the limit break animation. Usually when you cast a skill, this is the animation that I'll use. When you use a limit break, this is something that the system does not use mostly. It does use a sort of limit break animation when you go into the Harmo skill. This is a victory pose, so when you win battles, this is what the character does, and then this when they fall, or when they're dead. I just don't like that word very much, but when your character dies, that's the pose that they use. So that's the order of the white ties configuration. When you look at the holder configuration, it's a little bit different. That would be over here. Let me go ahead and pull up a holder character. Let's see, I should have one somewhere around here. Resources, graphics, holder, animations, battler. That'll do. Right, so here you have the holder animations. You have waiting, you have the defense, you have when their HP is low, you have when they are hit, you have attack, then you have using an item versus using a skill versus using magic. That's something that the holder variant differentiates between each of these, whereas in white ties you just have skill. You have moving forward, moving backwards, a victory animation. You have a sort of cute little animation when the battle starts. You have the dead animation and then the credit at the end. Alright, but let's just focus on this one for now. So here you have the animations already set by default, and if you want to kind of alter the order, if you have a different order of animation, so maybe you have the dead animation on the second row, which is the case of the characters with 10 there, which is the case of the characters with 10 different animations. You have the dead animation on the third column. That's something that maybe you want to define here. You can also define it later on if you have a different number of total animations. But if you have 11 animations total in a different order, then you want to define that here. So here's an example. What we're doing is that character number 12, whatever position that they have, all of the positions, so the ready position, the struck position, the woozy position, etc., they're all going to go to the second position. So let's go ahead and look at the database and look at character 12. This is one that I've already prepared, Setsuna. Let's go ahead and give him a actor, right? And when we go into the battle with that character, you will see that the character will not move. It should be here at the bottom. You see everyone else just moving, and he's just kind of static. And when we move forward to attack, it's not this one, guard. Oh, good lord, he's so weak. But you see that, he's supposed to be dead, but nothing happened, right? So it's still the basic animation at number 2. So that's what that section of the script does. Basically lets you rearrange things. So we move on. Here you do the same for the enemies. We've done that with the enemy ID number 2, which would be the basilisk, this one. And that would be why, if you remember a couple of videos ago, when we set the battle between two dudes, if I recall correctly what we called it, let's see, this M whatever, I believe it was up here, this one, oh no, that's on this side, there we go, two dudes, right? This battle, this why the characters didn't move, so let's go ahead and call that battle again, two dudes. Let's change this. We can leave the battle BM, doesn't matter. And there you'll see the two enemies. One has all the animations, the other one is kind of static. The reason for it being static, I have to say, good lord, I hate the casting animations for these. The reason for this one being static, not moving, etc., as you'll see when it tries to see, that one moves, this one just kind of doesn't. The reason for that would be here, because we've defined enemy ID number 2 to always go back to this frame, to this position. So the best thing that you could do really is just set it to nil or not do anything, or just don't touch it and don't use that number ID, use a different number ID. So here you have the random attack pose center. Basically what this is going to do is, if you configure it, you will basically have a character, instead of using the standard attack all the time, it will alternate between different attack styles. So here what you have is that, the 7th battler, that would be, I don't think we have a 7th battler yet. So let's go ahead and copy one here. Well, let's copy this one. If we copy you, Garion, into here, into number 7, when he attacks, when this battler attacks, it will be able to use any of the attack animations that we set on rows 7, 8, or 9. 7 because it's default, 8 or 9 because it's the ones that we've designed additionally. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It'll default to this one, but then it'll also use this one and this one on occasion. And if we want to use additional battle animations, we can just add them here, 9, 1, 10, 11. Not really sure if that's going to cause any conflict, but we can go ahead and test that out. Let's add Garion number 7 into the party instead of this one. Boop. I don't see why it should crash really. Right, and then just spell blast. You will be defending, you will be defending, and you will be attacking. And there you saw that he used a different animation, right? So that's what you do here. Moving on to the expanded pose control. What you do here is you designate the actors who have looping winning poses. So, for example, if you want to have your character, let's see, where's the folder? Here. this one. It's good enough. So if you want to have your character at the end of the battle just do 1, 2, 3, 4 and then stay like this, you don't really need to do anything. But if you want the character animation to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and then loop back 1, 2, 3, 4 until the screen moves on, then you designate the ID of the actors here. Now enemies don't really have winning positions, so you can just ignore that, and then the same is true for the looping when you have the down position. So if your down position has some sort of an animation, then you want to basically ID here, you want to tag the character IDs that loop. So let's just go ahead here and tag everyone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think it's just 12, right? And so now when we test the battle, at the end of the fight, there should be victory animations. So let's go ahead and do that, and spell blast, casting, horrible animation. Alright, so let's just try and win this. Spiral blade. I didn't change the skills or anything. Spiral blade again. Healing wave. No, I don't want the healing wave. Just one attack. Nothing, because of course I haven't equipped him with a weapon. Spiral blade again. And now you have the animated victory animations. You see that they're looping back and forth, like one side, 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 side. Right? So that's what that bit of the script does. Moving on down, this is where you basically decide what characters are going to use different positions for different actions. So if you want a character to have a preparation animation, then you go ahead and set this section here. If you want a character to have a casting position for skill preparation, you set that here. ID number 4 would be the caster, the Raventail character that we originally had in the database. So we go over here to actors, character number 4, Chelsea. And that's why this character has such an ugly casting animation. Let's see if we can find a prettier one. Boop, 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 boop. I think I'm going to go with this one for the caster for now. So continue. This is basically saying that character number 6 is going to have these positions for dying, etc., etc. These are for different statuses, and really, I don't really use them a lot, so I don't really care about those. These are the same for skills. So if you want a skill to use an animation different than the default skill animation, for example, let's see one that has a clear skill animation would be here, right? Let's see, here we have the normal skill animation. That would be this one, right? We have the attack animation, we have the skill animation, and if you want a specific skill to use, say, this animation instead, that would be where you define it. This would be the section where you define it. So skill 82 is going to use position 10, so that skill would use this one, skill 82. Let's see what we have on skill 82. Skills 82, the blast. Alright. So moving on. Here you have the poses set for charging again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Non-default pose for hits and critical hits. So when you do a critical hit, it'll use a different animation, and this would be where you control it. Set number of frames to pose. Again, this goes back to frames. And if there's any section, by the way, that you would like for me to go back and cover in more detail, let me know. I just feel like all this stuff is just basically a repeat of the elements that we discussed over here in the top, so that's why I'm just kind of rushing over it. Plus I want to finish this entire section in this video. So again, frames per pose, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, which is the default. If you set anything here, it'll change. Movement control center, this has to do with the range that the characters leave between themselves when attacking, so higher number. For example, here, instead of 32 you have 50. There will be more space between characters. This has to do with stepping forward, but some of this actually overridden by the Untitled custom battle system, so this section we can just ignore. Jumping, if you have any skills that maybe you want to use, like Dragoon style, where you jump off the screen, where you jump up and go down, you define that skill here. So here we have the skill number 61. That would be the jumping skill. I'm pretty sure that's Lance skill. The leg sweep. So what's going to happen is that when you cast leg sweep, character will go off the screen, then down. Let's just go ahead and assign it, see what happens. Class skill 61. That's actually something that I'm really curious about. I've never used the jumping skill, so let's go ahead and just put that there, like sweep, and just give it to everyone. Leg sweep and leg sweep, and if all goes well, when someone uses leg sweep, they will jump off the screen and then come back down and use the leg sweep skill. So spell she's casting, and here we go, skill leg sweep, and this guy. Alright, guess not. I guess that would be then another section that's overwritten by the Untitled ACVS. It does work in other scripts. When I cover the Moon Pearl script, you'll see how jumping works on her script. Let's see. And just some stuff about using items. Stationary, here if you want the enemies and the characters to just kind of stay in the same place and just kind of hack at each other from afar instead of jumping forward, you set that here. This part is really important, stationary weapons. If you have a character that uses a bow and arrow, and I believe that I have one here, like this one, then you want to make sure that you define that weapon in this section, in stationary weapons. So here we have 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way up to 24. So if we gave a character one of these weapons, instead of rushing forward when they attack, they will just stay in the same place and not attack. So let's see, who do we have? We have Joe, so let's go ahead and give Joe a bow and arrow. Can he use a bow and arrow? No. Let's make it then so that Joe can use the bow and arrow. Let me throw a bow. Here we go. And so for whatever reason we have that wizard, but let's give her the arrow animation instead so that we can actually see it clear. The bow and arrow guy. Again, the battler sprites that I'm using are base created by Dolmage, based on the white ties template, and then I've recolored them and edited them a bit. Is this one Joe? Yeah, so that was Joe. You saw how he kind of stayed on this side of the screen. If we have the other character, he'll rush forward and do whatever. Right? So that's what you define in this section. That's really important in this section, stationary weapons. And let's see what else. Transparency controls. So if you want any character to be sort of transparent, if you want to get like a ghost-like feature. And here, if you want to use reverse images, if you have, for example, an enemy sprite that's looking the other way, and you want it to, you know, the system by default, as you see it set to true, so reverse images, the enemies are looking left. What the system does makes them look right. If you have a sprite of enemies looking this way, then maybe, if you have the sprite of enemies looking right, then maybe you want to set this to false, but I think it's best to leave it true and have all your sprites look left. Then you have, the calculation of speed, delayed animations, and number of turns before enemies turn around, assuming that you have the others in true. So that's it for the animated battlers configuration. Let's just go ahead and just kind of give you a warning. You don't want to really play around with any of these things. These is the core system. This basically controls everything as far as the animations are concerned. So you basically configure in the configuration section, that's number one, and then for the rest of it, you just don't touch it. Miscellaneous code, etc. That is, of course, unless you are familiar with Ruby script and RGSS, in which case, go wild. Right? Real quick, let's go over the formation system. A lot of the information here we won't really need. What's important is this section. This would be in the formation sys. You see that you have ABATXB underscore formation. This basically defines where the characters are going to be located. The first axis defines left versus right, smaller number left, higher number right. The second number under each battler defines up or down. I believe that smaller number being down, higher number being up, if I'm not mistaken. So let me go ahead and just show you what happens when you kind of play around with these numbers. Let's set this to 100, 300, and then let's make this one 500, and then here's like, let's put this, and let's just leave it at that. Alright, so that section, this is where you play around if you want your characters to be standing somewhere else. That's where you go, formation system. And then when you play again, these are just the changes that we've made. You see this guy over here, that's one of ours. And then another one would be all the way back here somewhere. I can't quite make it out. Here it is. And this would be another one of our guys. And those are the changes that we made when we replaced this number, right? This 100. When we replaced 300 to 100. When we replaced this 300 to 500. And so if we change the second set of numbers to higher or lower, it'll just move the characters up or down, right? Let's see if there's anything worth covering in this section. Not really. This is basically the call to run everything, and that's it for the animated battlers configuration, where you control the animations, etc. In the next video, I'll try to knock out the Artonelico functions themselves. Alright, so have a good one, and I'll see you then.